Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talking About Balls. I am Justin George, flying the ship solo. Our Kyle is sick. He is still battling that illness that he's had for a while now, probably AIDS, if I had to guess, now that it's lingering this long, but we'll see. At any rate, we are live. George is behind the scenes. He will be joining us as the show progresses, as usual. You guys know George. So we're going to do all that. Plenty to talk about. Lord knows a lot has happened over the last week in the city of Cleveland. Some good, some bad, depending on how you view it. But we'll get to all that. For right now, though, of course, we start to show off. We talk about our lives. We talk about things that are going on in the real world. My real world is pretty boring. Again, young, almost 2-year-old coming up in less than a month. So, party prepping, doing stuff around the house. I was telling George that's why I'm late starting the show, doing a DIY project downstairs. We're adding some decor around our bar area. I'm sure Tara will post pictures and everybody can see the before and afters and shit like that. But for whatever reason, Tara likes to do these things on Wednesdays when I have a show. She doesn't want to do them on Mondays when she doesn't work and I come home and we have nothing to do. She doesn't like to do it on Fridays when I come home from work and she has nothing to do. She doesn't like to do it on Saturday or Sunday. She likes to do it on Wednesday when I have a show. So, perfect. But with that said, yeah, we're doing some shit. Last weekend, my niece spent the night on Friday, came over, spent the night. We watched some horror movies. I think I've talked about it on the show before, but I've got a little book club thing that I've kind of started with my nieces, one of which of the two won't read for some reason. She just refuses to read the books. She's the older one. She's 15 and a half or whatever, working on getting on driving and stuff like that. And you know how that is when you're a kid. She's into, she's just a sassy teenager. So she's maybe read a chapter of the 2 books that I bought her. Whereas my other niece, I buy her horror books. And the objective is they like to spend the night at our house. So I buy them a book that is also a film. And then once they read the book, I kind of quiz them to have them tell me, to make sure that they actually read it. Cause I read the books first before I give them to them. And I quiz them to make sure they actually read it. And then if they do that, they can spend the night and then we watch said movie. So we've done it with my one niece, again, all horror movies and books. So we did, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Clown in a Cornfield. I just bought her Amityville Horror, the original book from like the 60s or 70s or whatever. And she read that. So she's read all of them. She's come over. We've watched all the movies and it's a good time. So that's what we did on Friday. She came over. We watched the Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds, not the original with James Brolin. I like the Ryan Reynolds version personally. So we watched that. She spent the night, had a good time, hung out with Teddy. And then on Saturday, before the storm came in, we went to our friend's house for a soup party. And when you're in your 30s, if you'd have told 20-something-year-old Justin that you'd be going to a soup party in your 30s, I probably would have tried to fight myself because that's not the kind of party that I'm into. But as a almost 37-year-old, for God's sake, with a nearly 2-year-old, soup parties are the new thing. So we went over there, drank some beers. The point of a soup party is everybody brings a soup in a crock pot and everybody tastes it, each other's soup. And then this specific party, you grade the soups and a winner is crowned with prizes. So Tara ended up getting 4th place with the soup that she made. Technically, it was my fault. I'm kind of a dick, and she needed one more high score to probably come in 3rd place. I gave her a 4 out of 5 because it was a little salty. I'm honest. She made a loaded baked potato soup. It was a little salty, so I gave it a 4. Had I given her a 5, she probably would have come in 3rd place. So she has not let me hear the end of it. And I stand by my rating. I'm not going to give her a perfect score. There's always room for improvement. But that was my weekend for the most part. Then we obviously had that big snowstorm that came on Sunday and Saturday night, technically, all the way through Sunday, all the way into Monday. I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to go out there and shovel 6 times just to keep my driveway clear. I waited. I let it all come down. I woke up for work Monday morning and I was like, nope, there's like 1.5 feet of snow. I'm not trying to power through that. So I just texted my boss and said, I'll be in a half day. I'll come in at 11. I'm going to stay home and shovel. So I did. Took me a couple hours, shoveled the whole driveway, got it all cleared up. Perfect. And then here we are. That's pretty much all I've done this week. But that's just my personal life. Obviously, I like to talk about current events, and it's a shame that I've had to do this multiple times now, but there has been another American citizen protesting with the First Amendment. It's his right. He was gunned down like a dog in the street by ICE in Minneapolis, again, the same city. For whatever reason, Minneapolis actually doesn't have that high number of illegal immigrants based on, or compared to like Florida or places closer to the border. They're in Minnesota going after illegals. Is Minnesota Tim Walz's state? Is there a beef between Trump and Tim Walz? Of course. So this seems more like a direct attack on a democratic state opposed to just doing something for the country, because that's where we are as a country nowadays. We are full-fledged, just children. A child is in charge. Children are underneath him. It's essentially like the movie Children of the Corn, where there's just a bunch of stupid kids in charge making dumb decisions, and that's pretty much where we're at. So long story short, this guy was a Second Amendment abiding citizen. He had a license to carry his weapon in a carry state. He was a VA doctor, veterans. I think it's Veterans Aid. I don't remember what VA stands for. My mom works at a VA hospital, so I should know, but I don't. But he was a nurse at a VA hospital in Minnesota, which means he took care of veterans. Pretty American, pretty patriotic, in my opinion, to take a job like that, to care so much about veterans that your whole job is for that. He could probably go work at a different hospital, maybe make more money. I don't know the ins and outs of all that, but he chose to work at a VA. I've heard he's like, before shifts, he gives little like speeches. I saw a video of him giving a speech or whatever, or like coworkers talking about it, how he rallies everybody together and like, it reminds everybody what they're doing this for and how they work for veterans and stuff like that. And for the country. So he's a patriot. Goes to this ICE protest. He's out there. Just from the video that I saw, he's directing traffic. He's helping cars go through. He has his phone out. He's filming. And sorry, I'm watching the Cavs game. So if you see me looking up and down, that's just me watching the Cavs game because LeBron's in town. It's the Lakers and Cavs. And I don't know how many more times I'm going to get to watch LeBron James play, especially in Cleveland. So I'm enjoying it while I can. But as I was saying, so he was out there filming with his phone. Again, he did have a gun on him, but it was holstered. He didn't like wave it to anybody. He wasn't doing anything with it at all. So he's holding his gun. These ICE people, these masked ICE, untrained, unqualified, not even good enough to be police officers. Not that there's anything wrong. I'm not a big fan of police when they do bad shit, but for the most part, I know some cops, and I have no beef with cops. But these ICE guys are not cops. These ICE people are failed cops. These are guys that probably wanted to be cops. They couldn't because they weren't smart enough. They weren't, just good enough to be police officers. So they decided to do ICE. So they go around with masks. They don't tell people who they are. They're essentially henchmen. And we have them running the show and ganging up on people. And, I'm sure you guys all saw the video clear as day. I forgot his first name. Alex Pretty. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He was the guy who got killed. He was there again protesting. They show him with his phone out. He's filming the ICE members. He's directing traffic. He's standing there being nice, like telling cars to go by and like shit like that, just not doing anything wrong. And then I don't know if the ICE members wanted to get through, but they end up kind of like getting in a close encounter with Preddy and a woman. I don't know who the woman was that he was with, if he even knew her, whatever. And all of a sudden, the ICE person, because again, they're untrained, unqualified idiots, just shoves this woman down. And Preddy tries to like help her up because that's what a good person would do when you see a fellow American citizen get shoved to the ground from law enforcement. I'm using that term loosely because I don't consider ICE law enforcement. I think it's a joke. And I don't respect them like I would actual law enforcement. But they shove the woman down to the ground. Preddy goes over there, tries to help her up. The ICE agent keeps trying to like shove them and get them moving, and he's just trying to help this woman. So it looks like he's resisting, but he kind of is, but he's again trying to help this woman. So the ICE agent pulls out the pepper spray, starts pepper spraying them. Again, they're just standing on a street, on a sidewalk. They got shoved into the snow, pepper sprayed, and then All of a sudden they decide, okay, we're going to arrest this guy. He's resisting, so we're going to take him down and arrest him. They tackle him. Again, he's kind of fighting because, in my opinion, he didn't do anything that justified the way they're treating him. If you want to push him away and just be like, get moving, like that's it. We're not dealing with this. That's fine. But to shove him around the way they were doing that, again, it's because they're unprofessional and untrained. And they, like 6 agents get on him, maybe more. They're on him. They find his gun. I hear one of them yells, he's got a gun. They unholster it. They take it from him. Again, he's still struggling. He's holding his phone. They're hitting him. They're trying to, shove him to the ground. All of a sudden, one agent, I've seen the video a dozen times, pulls his gun out, just points it at his back, and boom, just shoots him in the fucking back like a dog. This is literally Nazi Germany. This is what they did. Watch any World War II documentary that showed what Germany and Nazis did when they were pulling people out, what they did in Auschwitz or any other concentration camp. There was no regard for human life. It was just shoot them, treat them like a dog. Who gives a shit? So the one agent shoots him in the back, and I think that kind of triggered other agents to think that they were getting shot at. So then just reflexes, they all start shooting, and he gets like 6, 7 bullets, maybe more, and he's dead. All because he was legally, peacefully protesting. He was shot and killed and gunned down like a dog. And then, of course, the spin control comes out from the Republicans, and they're trying to portray this guy as a domestic terrorist. And it's a shame. It's a fucking shame what they're doing to us as a country. We as American citizens, this is where we need to, band together instead of trying to fight. Like, if you truly think that guy deserved what he got, don't watch the show. Don't text me. Don't fucking talk to me. I don't want to know anybody that thinks like that. Truthfully, this is me speaking from the heart. I disagree with people politically. I know there's Trump fans in my friends group. That's fine. Most of them are pretty level-headed with it. They don't really they're not posting about him 24/7. I know they're big fans because, again, the dude's like a fucking cult leader. He gets people to care about shit more than it's weird. It's the president. Like, who roots for a president like that? You should root for your country. But, president over country for some people. So they like everything that he does. It's a shame. And there's people out there that defended this shooting. And it's just, it's embarrassing. It really is. It makes us look terrible as a country. It's a shame. It's a pity what they're doing. Again, legally expressing his First Amendment right, legally expressing his Second Amendment right, shot and killed in the street. How's that right? How are people not outraged about this and, demanding change and wanting an end? Instead, there's so many people that are defending it. And it's scary to me how stupid we are as a society. I'm not going to dwell on it too much longer. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing about it and all that. There's nothing that I can do to bring them back. There's nothing that I can do as a voice that's going to get anybody to actually make a change. It's just my personal thoughts. I don't want people like that in my life. I don't want people like that watching my show. If you are in favor of what happened to, again, my apologies if I'm getting his name wrong. I think his name was Alex Preddy. But either way, if you're defending what happened to him in any way, shape, or form, fuck you. Fuck ICE. They're pieces of shit. It's a stupid fucking thing that they're doing. If you want to go after illegals that are criminals, that's one thing. Pulling people away from their families, I understand they're here illegally. I get that. There are better ways to go about it. But a lot of these people don't have the option. It's not like they can just go to a fucking border and go, hey, I'd like to apply to be an American. And they just go, come on in. It's a very expensive, very time-consuming process. These people come from slums. They come from horrible areas, horrible cities, and horribly ran countries. And their goal is to just have a better life for their family. George, I just split into a transition. I don't know if that's affecting anything. Okay, I'm just seeing what you're doing behind the scenes. Gotcha. Had me worried for a minute. But it's a shame how, go back to the early 1900s. We were built by Ellis Island. We let immigrants in because we had a process for it. Now we're all of a sudden like, nope, fuck you. No one's allowed here. I don't know. It's just weird. That's literally the whole principle of America was built on that. We stole this land from Native Americans. We're all here because we invaded illegally. We came across the border into America, however you want to spin it, and we took over the country. So without immigration and immigrants coming here and making this their home, we wouldn't be here. But that's a discussion for another day. I don't want. I try not to get too political. It is just a shame that that's where we're at as a country. That it's that big of a joke that everything that happens is just so negative and shitty, and just everything has to be a fight between people of who's right and who's wrong. No one can just unite and be like, hey, you know what? We all agree this is kind of fucked up. It's never going to happen. It's just my side's right, your side's wrong, and until we come back together as a country. And I'm not saying this needs to happen, but the last time the country really united was after 9/11. So if a huge terrorist attack is the only way that we're going to be united as a country, then maybe something needs to happen, because it's fucked up right now. It's literally just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But I digress. And I'm joking. Obviously, I'm not condoning a terrorist attack. You guys know what I'm trying to say. But with that said, there are some sports to talk about. Huge news in the city of Cleveland happened over the last week, and we're going to talk about all of it. First things first, we're going to start with the biggest news in Cleveland. Jose Ramirez gets himself a contract extension, and I'm sure a lot of you were tricked thinking I'm going to start this episode off with the Browns, because the Browns finally made a hire. We'll talk about that in a minute. But no, I want to give credit to Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is the best Cleveland athlete we have. He's been here the longest than almost everybody on any team. I think Joel Bitonio might have him beat. I'd have to look it up. But Jose Ramirez is Cleveland. He is a Cleveland Guardian, in my opinion. For me, he's going to go down as the best Cleveland Guardian, Indian, whatever you want to call it, of all time. He's just such a fun player, such a likable guy. Took this contract extension and left hundreds of millions of dollars on the table so he could stay in Cleveland, because he knows Cleveland's not going to pay him what he's actually worth, but he wants to stay. And that's the most admirable thing a guy can do. And I love Jose for that. I feel bad for Jose. Spoiler alert, Guardian guy Greg. Well, not spoiler alert, I'm sorry. I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but Guardian guy Greg told me some dirt. He gets some inside info, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil any sources or anything like that. But Guardian guy Greg alerted me about a week or so ago that he had it on very good authority that the Guardians' objective into this offseason was to cut $20 to $30 million from their payroll. The reason they're doing that is because the Guardians will be selling the full share of the team to David Blitzer in a couple of years. So the best way to make the most profit for them is the team's valuation. Is that what it's called? Valuation? The team's value, whatever. I haven't watched Shark Tank in a while. I forgot all the verbiage. But the team's value is just going to continue to go up. Every year it goes up. You know, that's just how it is. Everything appreciates, especially a baseball team that's successful. But with a lower salary cap, not salary cap, but payroll, that's more profit for them when they sell. If they're only putting $80 million into the payroll and the team's worth $2 billion or whatever, that's just extra money for them to have. If the payroll was $500 million or, $200 million, that's less money they're going to get. That's over $100 million less. So that's a lot of money. To you and I, to them, they could live without it. Trust me. But they are cutting the payroll again. And I guess, again, more from Guardian guy Greg, I guess Chris Antonetti was doing a discussion the other day with the fans of the Akron Rubber Ducks. Forgot their name. I almost called them the Akron Arrows. The Akron Rubber Ducks. And I don't have the quote, but Greg told me that Chris Antonetti specifically said, like, we are not signing a bat. Like, basically what we have is what we're using this season. They're not signing anybody. They're not making any changes. We are going in with these young guys that played in the playoffs. That's who's playing for the Guardians this year. Get used to it. We're not signing some power-hitting right fielder that we've been asking for the last decade. In fact, we don't even have Big Christmas anymore. Jhonkensy Noel's gone. Not that he was a great right fielder or anything like that, but he's out of the picture. So we're sticking with what we got. And with the contract of Emmanuel Clase no longer on the books because he's suspended, so he doesn't count against the cap or their payroll. I keep saying cap because I know what's happening in a year when we have this lockout. But his money is not affecting the payroll right now. So that's even less money. That's I think Greg told me almost $8 million less on the cap right now, or on the payroll. So the current payroll, Greg sent it to me. I could pull it up. Give me one tick of a second, and I will have that for you. Uh, where was it? Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm positive I can have it. Yeah. By the way, it looks like payroll is sitting at 68 million, counting Class A's 6.4 mil. I'm still doubtful they'll have to pay him, and if they don't, that puts our payroll at $62.4 million, which is ridiculous. Was $100 million last year. So, as Greg said, they were told to cut 20 to 30 million, and they currently have about 30 to 40 million cut. So will they make a couple signings to add up to that 30 million mark? Possible. I mean, maybe a relief pitcher here and there for a few million, but nothing special. So the Browns, the Guardians are currently sitting at about a 60 to 70 million dollar payroll, which is terrible in baseball. And I got into an argument with a guy on the Tony Rizzo show chat the other day on YouTube, because I was telling people all this, and I was saying how the Dolans being cheap is shitty, basically, in a nice way. And these people are coming at me, and they're like, well, I find it bizarre that you care about how much they spend. They don't have the fans don't give them money to put into the team, and they're doing what they can, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you're just a sucker that falls for them crying poor. They're full of shit. I didn't go into detail, but I'm like, I have a friend who knows some things and knows that they cook the books to make themselves look poorer than they really are, which is true. Guardian guy Greg is not shy about talking about that. The guy also was, again, he was saying it's bizarre that you care so much about their payroll, blah, blah, blah. They have six division titles in 11 years and this and that. And I'm like, that's fine. That's all well and good. But don't you want more? Like, what kind of loser mentality is like, no, I'll take a division title. I don't want a championship. Why would I want them to put some money into the team to get a championship? I can get a division title. Call me crazy, but look at what happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers go to the playoffs every fucking year. What did they do? They still fired Mike McCarthy, because it's better than a playoff appearance? A Super Bowl. It's better than a division title? A championship would be fucking nice. But the Guardians keep making the playoffs, and they keep getting cheaper. What sense does that make? They literally surprise the world. Stephen Vogt's first year, go to the playoffs, win the division, and then they cut the payroll a little bit. And then I said it on here. I was like, the Guardians are going to finish like fourth in the division. For most of the year, they sat at about that point. And then towards the end, they got hot. They win the division over Detroit. And then, of course, they get eliminated in the first round by Detroit. But what are they doing 2 years in a row? 2 division titles in a row. 2 Manager of the Year awards for Stephen Vogt. What do we get out of it? Cut the payroll again. Keep cutting it. This is literally like the movie Major League. It is just the fucking scraps that we're trying to win with. And I blame the Dolans. I don't want the Dolans to sell the team and Blitzer to just all of a sudden turn us into the Dodgers, because that's not going to happen. I also don't want Blitzer to go crazy and dump the front office. I think if this front office could get an extra, give them $50 more million, give them $30 million more dollars, I think that would be a huge improvement. But they don't have it. They're not allowed to use it. They have to be very cautious with the farm system. And I don't know. I told everybody personally, I'm like, I'm not spending the $99 it is to get the Guardians package to watch every game this year. I'm just not putting my money into them anymore. I love Jose Ramirez. I'll listen to the games. I love Tom Hamilton, but I'm not spending the money. Supposedly, I didn't even look it up. Supposedly, there's a lot of games on national TV this year on NBC, which is cool. But I'm not wasting my money into the package. I'm not going to watch the games. I'm not getting invested. Even if they somehow make the playoffs again this year, I'm never getting my hopes up for them to win a championship. I didn't last year. They made the playoffs. First thing I said is they're eliminated in the first round. What happened? Eliminated in the first round by Detroit. I did not have any faith in them getting anywhere. Even the year before, they fought like hell to beat Detroit. They fought like hell against the Yankees, who inevitably beat them, but they tried. And then I was like, okay, we were a few games away from the World Series. Cut payroll. And that's where I'm like, all right, so they're not fucking serious about winning, the Dolans. They're not. They're serious about getting a division title. That looks good. That's good on your resume. But they want to do it as cheaply as possible because they're not serious. So that's where we're at. But kudos to Jose Ramirez. Took a huge hometown discount, signs a 7-year extension that's going to put him here till he's like 40 years old. Going to give him all the time in the world. Knock on wood. Health, obviously, is the key factor, but that's going to give him the capability to break pretty much every record you could imagine for the Guardians, which is awesome. And I I don't know. I'm happy about it, but at the same time, I feel like it's like Joe Thomas. Like I have to watch this guy waste his career here in Cleveland. It's like Myles Garrett. You have this great player who's going to be a Hall of Famer, a first ballot, no doubt about it, Hall of Famer, but they wasted their career here. Don't get me wrong. Jose is, again, he's going to set records. He's going to be the Guardians' all-time best player, more than likely. He is going to, retire as a Guardian, assuming they never trade him or anything like that. But he's probably never going to have a championship, which is a shame. He deserves one more than any player I've ever seen play the game of baseball, in my opinion. And then, oh shit, does my name say JG George? Is there a way to change that, George, if we could, to just say JG? I thought that's all I was going to say in my name. Not so I did edit. Yeah, I was going to say I edited it before we started, and it said display name, and I typed just JG. So that's why I just noticed it says JG George. Um, okay, no worries. I'll figure it out. We're still new on this. What's it called? EveMux. Um, but yeah, so shout out to Jose Ramirez. Appreciate him doing the city a favor and taking that hometown discount to stay here. We all appreciate it. And, I wish him nothing but the best. I won a championship for the Guardians, but I just don't foresee it. And the other thing the Guardians did, the Dolans did, I should say, that a lot of people don't take into consideration with this move was they deferred a lot of the money. So it actually saves the Guardians payroll this year like $7 to $10 million because they deferred all that money. So now Blitzer's on the hook for it once they sell the team. So that's another thing the Guardians fans don't know, or maybe didn't know, and now you do know. So that's the Dolans for you. All right, let's get into the talk of the town. Of course, the Browns finally made a decision this morning. I was starting to worry that we were going to get to the show and not have anything to talk about, but they decided to get themselves their head coach, and it was not who any of us would have seen coming. They hired Todd Monken, the former offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, the offensive coordinator of the Ravens that, yes, he did lead Lamar Jackson to his two of his best years. He got an MVP. The offense was top 5 for 2 of the 3 years Monken was there. Last year, it was only not top 5 strictly because they had so many fucking injuries. Lamar Jackson missed a ton of time, so they ended up being ranked 11th, which is still pretty damn good in the grand scheme of things. I think Browns fans would kill to have the 11th ranked offense any given year. But they go with Todd Monken. Todd Monken is a 59-year-old journeyman assistant coach. He has never been a head coach in the NFL, and that's okay. I'm not knocking him for it. I want to preface this whole discussion that I'm about to have. I want to preface this with, I have nothing against Todd Monken. I think Todd Monken's a good football coach. I have nothing against him coming here to be the Browns head coach. My concern is simply, A, the embarrassment of this search that they had, because they spent so much time only going after these young up-and-coming candidates. So it seemed like, okay, the Browns fully admit they're in a rebuild. They are going to get this young coach that has a great offensive mind, whether it be Nate Scheelhaase, whether it be Grant Udinski. They even talked to Mike McDaniel. Again, they were going after these young offensive-minded coaches, and it seemed like that was kind of the consensus of who they were going after. That's their type. Then all of a sudden, they interviewed Todd Monken twice. I was kind of like, that's weird. Why would they do that twice? And then I thought maybe he would be the offensive coordinator. Maybe they would hire Nate Scheelhaase. Nate Scheelhaase has only ever been in the passing game coordinator for the Rams. He's never even been an offensive coordinator. Grant Udinski at least had 1 year of being an offensive coordinator, but he never called plays. So to me, it would make sense to hire one of those 2 young guys to be the head coach and then make Todd Monken the offensive coordinator. That would make perfect sense to me. Here's this 60-year-old guy that's been an offensive coordinator for championship-winning Georgia. He's been the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. Ironically enough, he was the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns in 2019 under Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens did call the plays, though, for those of you at home. And a little funny story, I forgot to send the picture to George, but I will read it here verbatim. I have a quote from Mr. I got to figure out how to find it. From Mr. Todd Monken. Let me find my tweets here. I tweeted it to somebody earlier so they could see it. Let me find my profile. Replies. Boom. I knew I'd figure it out. Here it is. Okay. Here's an exact quote. Okay. Speaking of disgruntled, this is from 2019, Todd Monken. Speaking of disgruntled offensive coordinators, Todd Monken's one season with the Browns was a disaster. Monken had the offensive coordinator title, but Kitchens called the plays, and it was clear that Kitchens and Monkins were never going to be on the same page. Multiple sources told The Athletic late in the season, Monken would spend time on the field before games telling opposing coaches how bad things were with the Browns, calling the team a quote-unquote total mess, and saying that Kitchens' Sunday play calling generally steered away from most of the things they did for the game plan from Wednesday to Saturday. So they would spend all this time at practice getting everything ready, and Freddie Kitchens would go rogue. So you can't blame Todd Monken for the shitty offense, because I saw that's the reason I sent that quote to people, because there were people bitching about the Todd Monken hire, and they're like, this fucking guy had Baker, Chubb, OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and we had a horrible David Njoku, and we had a terrible offense. So I sent that quote to people because I was like, he didn't call the plays, and he completely threw Freddie Kitchens under the bus and said, this dude would go rogue. Like, he never followed our game plan. So to me, it shows that, I think, again, nothing against Todd Monken. Todd Monken seems like a good football coach, good football guy. He's been coaching since 1989. He was the head coach of not South Florida. I don't remember. He was the head coach of some smaller college for a few years. So at least he does have head coaching experience, albeit not at the NFL professional level, but still knows how to be a leader of men. So again, nothing against Todd Monken. I just don't understand the process and their vision. Again, they spent all this time. They jumped in the jet on Sunday. They flew to Los Angeles to get Nate Scheelhaase an interview. The second the Rams got eliminated, they were so quick to get on that plane and go interview Scheelhaase for this job. Grant Udinski pulled out of the running because I think he knew, like, okay, they're not going to hire me, so I'm dropping out. So to me, it was, okay, they want Nate Scheelhaase for sure. He is their guy. They fly down there, no deal. They let him interview with Buffalo, no deal. And then all of a sudden, a couple days go by. Well, a day goes by. Mind you, they had interviewed Jim Schwartz twice also for the head coaching position. So there's starting to be some serious heat and smoke to the rumor that Jim Schwartz is going to just be promoted to head coach, which for me would have made no fucking sense. All I can think of is, if you're going to, why keep Jim Schwartz, who is not a good head coach? He was already a head coach, wasn't good. Maybe he improves, but I think he's just a very good defensive coordinator. Some people are just meant to be coordinators. Look at Josh McDaniels. But anyway, so you have Jim Schwartz interviewed twice, Todd Monken interviews twice, and then they're all after Nate Scheelhaase and Grant Udinski. So you've got two 60-year-old, both, ironically enough, both Jim Schwartz and Todd Monken started their coaching careers in 1989. So they've both been doing it for the same exact amount of time. Both are, almost 60. And then you've got a 30-year-old Grant Udinski and a 35-year-old Nate Scheelhaase. So very different ends of the spectrum on who they're interviewing. Two older guys, two younger guys. Both or all four have been career assistant coaches for the most part. Obviously, again, Jim Schwartz had his stint in Detroit. But other than that, they've all been assistants and coordinators. So I assumed Udinski or Scheelhaase makes the most sense. You bring in this young, offensive-minded guru. You're hoping to find the next Sean McVay. And you are hoping to turn your offense around. The rumor that came out was any coach they bring in has to be okay with being to working with Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Bring in your own offensive coordinator, that's fine. Bring in your own special teams coordinator, that's fine. Defensive coordinator is Jim Schwartz. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And obviously you're handcuffed to Andrew Berry because he wasn't going anywhere. He stayed, Kevin left, as you all know. So you get to today. News breaks. Todd Monken named head coach. Then more news breaks. Jim Schwartz is pissed. Jim Schwartz says, how the fuck could you pass me up for this job? I've been here for years. I have the top 5 defense. You interviewed me twice. You really had my hopes up that I'm getting this job, and you passed me over for another coordinator guy. So Schwartz is pissed. Schwartz, who has 1 year left on his contract, tells everybody in Berea, hey, it was great working with you. Fuck these guys. I'm out. I'm not working here anymore. This is all documented today. Jim Schwartz stormed out of Berea, told goodbye to everybody that he liked, and got the fuck out and said, I'm not working for this team. So Jim Schwartz is now out. So in the grand scheme of things, if you look at it, the Browns essentially traded Kevin Stefanski and Jim Schwartz, assuming Jim Schwartz never coaches here again. They essentially traded Jim Schwartz and Kevin Stefanski for Todd Monken. Not a good deal. Not a good deal at all. There were some leaks coming out from Twitter from reporters for like CBS and shit like that said, unnamed Browns player just texted me and all he said was, this is a fucking mess. Like the players even think it's embarrassing. Just the whole situation's ugly. And again, I'm prefacing with I have no issue with Todd Monken as a coach. It's the vision or lack thereof. Because again, you hold these interviews for the last 25 days or something like that. We've been without a head coach. They're interviewing all these guys. They're going after really young guys, young go-hards, young up-and-comers. Then they settle for Todd Monken. Okay, out of left field. I won't lie to you. When that news came out today, I was fucking stunned. I was like, what? Todd Monken got the job of all people? And then the Jim Schwartz news comes out. Okay, so they told all these coaches, if you come here, you have to work with Jim Schwartz. We love him as our defensive coordinator. First thing Jim Schwartz says, fuck you, I'm out. Is this a leverage move because he wants to be the highest paid coordinator to get a contract extension? Maybe. Is he really pissed and probably leaving? I think so. We'll see. Just the whole thing that they did. Again, you guys know my thoughts on this matter. I hated firing Kevin and keeping Andrew Berry. I thought that was a huge disaster move, and I think that sets the franchise back. Now you're hiring this 60-year-old coach for a rebuild. You have no path to a franchise quarterback. You have no quarterback on your roster that's worthy. And you have no path to the said quarterback, again, as I mentioned, because there's no quarterback in this year's draft that's good enough to take, where you have 2 draft picks outside of Fernando Mendoza, who you're not getting. And then you could tank again, I suppose. Maybe trade some guys, get some draft picks for next year. But then another year wasted for Myles Garrett, another year wasted for Denzel Ward. All these older guys. You're just wasting everybody's time and their careers if you keep having these tank seasons. Because the Browns aren't winning shit next year. Let's just call it like it is. This team is not good. I don't care what they do. There's not good enough players in this draft either that's going to turn the franchise around, especially when you don't have a quarterback. This is a very weak wide receiver class. Browns need wide receivers. Kind of fucked. This is a very weak offensive lineman class. Browns need every fucking position at offensive line, essentially. The Browns need 1 through 5 brand new players on offensive line. Who are they going to get in this year's draft? There's a bunch of very fat tackles that are going to have to play guard in the NFL. Cool. That's great for the Browns' future building. So another wasted year is more than likely looming for us Browns fans. All for the sake of Todd Monken. They sold their souls for Todd Monken. Kevin Stefanski happy as a clam down in Atlanta. Jim Schwartz pissed as fuck because he didn't get the Browns head coaching job, so he wants out. So now you have Todd Monken and nothing. Oh, and by the way, without Jim Schwartz, people don't really realize this, current players might want out, and free agent players might not want to come back anymore, like Devin Bush. Devin Bush was a very good linebacker. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was CBS, but whatever. Somebody made a top 10 free agents list. Devin Bush was like number 6 or 7. He was pretty high on that list of overall free agents. Would love to see him stay with the Browns. Does Devin Bush stay without Jim Schwartz? I don't think so. So that's something to think about. But again, the whole ordeal is just embarrassing for the Browns. This makes us look terrible. We had Mike McDaniel withdraw from the contention. We had Grant Udinski withdraw his name. So we had multiple coaches withdraw. The rumor came out that Jim Harbaugh's agent basically answered the phone for 5 seconds and said, Cleveland, are you fucking serious? And hung up on him. He wanted nothing to do with even talking to us. And then again, they get Todd Monken. Todd Monken was sought after by nobody. He was technically still employed by the Ravens, and Jim Harbaugh was going to poach him away to be the offensive coordinator in New York, but the Browns decided to make him the head coach. A 60-year-old head coach to lead a rebuild makes no fucking sense to me. To me, this, again, I don't know. Jimmy Haslam's a psychopath, and I could completely foresee if we have another bad season, this is a one-and-done situation like the Freddie Kitchens era, and rightfully so, it would be justified, because you have a GM in Andrew Berry who's on thin ice. Or they keep doing things the most fucking stupid way possible, and maybe they fire Andrew Berry next season, and now you have to find another GM and start it over again. It's a never-ending fucking cycle. They should have cleaned house. The 2026 Browns should have started at the bottom with a new coach, new GM, go out there this year, do what you can, and then next year do everything in your fucking power to try to get yourselves a quarterback. Instead, we're stuck in purgatory. And it's just never-ending laughing stock of the Cleveland Browns. A couple of days ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers hired Mike McCarthy. Everybody and their brother shitting on the hiring. Me too. It's a horrible signing for them at head coach. They essentially replaced one guy who could get you to the playoffs and can't win any playoff games for another guy who can get you to the playoffs and not win any playoff games, but with more talent. Mike McCarthy had some very good Dallas teams, very good Green Bay Packers teams, won championship in his career. Mike Tomlin took over a very talented Bill Cowher Pittsburgh Steelers team, won a Super Bowl, and then continues to make the playoffs with Pittsburgh, even though their team kind of stinks. And that's why they haven't even won a playoff game in like a decade. So the Mike McCarthy signing for Pittsburgh makes no sense to me other than he's from Pittsburgh. So they're doing this as like hey, he's one of us. Maybe the fans will like him. But he's old. I think he's cooked. And he looked like an actual corpse in his press conference. If any of you saw pictures of him, he literally looked like a dead body sitting up there in his suit with his fat, bloated neck. And his face just looked all pale and scaly. He literally looked like a corpse. But it's a better hire than Todd Monken, probably. I don't know. I'm depressed. I really thought this offseason was going to at least have, again, if they would have brought in Nate Scheelhaus or Grant Udinski, I go, okay, let's give these guys a year or two to see what they can do. Now we hire a 60-year-old. What sense does that make? And our offense stinks. We have no talent. We have no offensive line. We have no quarterback. We have no wide receivers. And you hire a 60-year-old offensive coach. And then that brings me to my second fear, which is Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders made the Pro Blow, as I'm calling it. It's no longer the Pro Bowl, it's the Pro Blow. Shedeur Sanders was the 7th alternate quarterback on the list, but because of injuries and other people saying no, he is going to be in the Pro Bowl. First off, the NFL needs to change the way they define a Pro Bowler. You're either a Pro Bowler or you're not. And what I mean by that is if you get voted into the Pro Bowl because you had a very good season and you get, credit for your great season, it should go on your thing, on your Wikipedia and your accolades. But if you are the 7th alternate and you get put into the Pro Bowl, because he wasn't voted into the Pro Bowl, he wasn't selected for the Pro Bowl, he was put in by default. That should not be in his resume. But Shedeur Sanders can forever say he was a rookie Pro Bowler. That's embarrassing for the league. It truly is. It's embarrassing for the Browns. The NFL's doing it. And this is where Sanders fans are so stupid. The NFL did this for ratings. The Pro Bowl games, whatever they call them, gets terrible ratings. Every year it's going down and down. People care less every single year. So what do? They add Shedeur Sanders because you know why? All of his fans are going to tune in. And that's ratings. That's all they care about. Me personally, I'm not watching. I wouldn't, and it has nothing to do with Shedeur. I have no interest in it. It's a garbage product. They should just name the players for the Pro Bowl, and that's it. There shouldn't actually be, fucking flag football or dodgeball or whatever the fuck they play. It's stupid. But Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowler. And, again, he was one of the worst quarterbacks of all time. And that's not even me just hating. That's statistically speaking. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in NFL history. And he's a Pro Bowler. He had 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He threw for like 55% for his season, and he is the AFC's representative at quarterback. Go figure. Now, what's Monken going to do? Is Monken going to try to work with Deshaun Watson and turn him around like he did to fix Lamar Jackson? Or is he coming in with Shedeur Sanders, which is, again, my biggest fear. And this is just me as a Browns fan. This isn't me hating on Shedeur. I know it's going to sound that way. And I say the same thing for Dillon Gabriel. So it's everybody. My biggest fear is that Todd Monken's going to come in here and make Gabriel or make Sanders or even Watson serviceable. Not great, serviceable. Can you win 6-7 games? Maybe. Is that going to keep you away from getting a real quarterback? Yes. Are you ever going to win a championship with that guy or even be a contender? No. But are you going to win enough games to keep yourself away from getting your franchise quarterback in the future? Yeah. So you're stuck in purgatory. We're stuck. And that's what upsets me most as a Browns fan is I don't see a way out. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. All I see is purgatory. And there's really nothing that can convince me otherwise that that's not what's going to happen with this situation. So that's why I named this episode The Pro Blow, because Shedeur Sanders has no business being in the Pro Bowl. It's an embarrassment. It truly is. It's a joke. But, he gets it. His fans are going to be shouting that from the rooftops for the next 6 months. Pro Bowl quarterback Shedeur Sanders. The most undeserving thing I've ever seen in my life, and a disgrace. It's the second worst thing to happen for the NFL publicity-wise in the last 48 hours. The first one being Bill Belichick. We don't have a slide for it, but Bill Belichick did not get the votes to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best coaches of all time with 6 championships with the New England Patriots was not a first ballot Hall of Famer because people have a vendetta. Because people go, well, he had Spygate, which I agree with. But if that's the case, if you're going to be this strict about Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, then when Tom Brady is eligible for that Hall of Fame, he better not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Am I wrong? I feel like that's fair. If that's the reasoning, it should go for everybody. Tom Brady should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer if Bill Belichick is not. Those same guys that voted no for Bill need to vote no for Tom Brady, and he needs to not get voted in his first time. Otherwise, that's the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen. I hear my wife down there fucking nailing shit into the wall. But, so Bill Belichick does not get voted into the Hall of Fame on his first attempt, and then Shedeur Sanders is in the Pro Bowl. The NFL is broken. There's something wrong with the NFL right now. I don't understand what's happening. And then you have your Super Bowl matchup. Where am I at here? Let's see where I'm at. Yeah, so we'll talk about the head coaches really quick. I don't think there's any new ones. Joe Brady was, of course, named head coach of the Buffalo Bills. He was promoted from offensive coordinator. Jesse Minter officially takes the Ravens job. I don't know if that happened last week when we talked. Mike McCarthy, I mentioned, took the Pittsburgh Steelers job. And then Todd Monken is the official head coach of the Cleveland Browns. No head coach for Arizona yet, and no head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Those are the last 2 empty seats. But with that being said, we did have some games over the weekend on Sunday. We had a very, very boring Patriots-Broncos game. Patriots come away with the win 10-7. Jared Stidham just wasn't good enough, and the Patriots did what they had to do against a bad backup quarterback, per usual. And the Seattle Seahawks win a nail-biter over the Rams. What a good game that was, but a muffed punt basically was the dagger, and that cost the Los Angeles Rams their season. And the Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold are taking on Drake May and the New England Patriots in what will be arguably the most forgettable Super Bowl of all time. That is a horrible matchup. Obviously, they'll get a ton of people watching from Boston, but I also feel like it's not going to be a very highly rated Super Bowl, unless the Bad Bunny thing. It's almost like the NFL knows. So I don't know if you have the picture handy, George. You don't have to if you don't. It's not a big deal. In like August, right before the season started, the NFL posted their promo picture with everybody's vision towards the Super Bowl. What they had was like you could see Levi Stadium in the background. It's all lit up and decorated for the Super Bowl. And then you have one player representing each of the 32 teams. Browns had Myles Garrett. Steelers, I think, had either Rodgers or Watt. I don't remember who they had, but each team has a representative. It's a cartoon, whatever. It's a graphic, and they're all staring at the stadium, staring at the Lombardi Trophy. The farthest two players closest to the stadium, all the way up in the front by themselves, are none other. And again, they posted this in like August or September. None other than Sam Darnold and Drake May. Who's in the Super Bowl? Sam Darnold and Drake May. What are the fucking odds? Is the NFL scripted? More and more evidence every single day really makes you think. And that's exactly who's playing in the Super Bowl. It's bananas how weird that ended up working out. But with that being said, I hate New England. I don't want them to win another Super Bowl, especially with Brady being gone. I don't like Boston in general. I think they're all loud and obnoxious, and I don't like how they pronounce their R's. So I'm heavily rooting against them. But at the same token, I hate Seattle because my friend Craig is a Seahawks fan. So I am rooting for nobody. I am going to be hate watching this entire game. I don't want either team to win. And again, I think this matchup, where I was getting at with the conspiracy thing, is the NFL put those two in the very front, and then they get Bad Bunny, who is technically the biggest musical artist on the planet, to do the halftime show. So you have two, I don't want to say shitty teams facing each other, but you have two meh teams. And you have, oh, here we go. Add to scene. I don't know how to do it. Did I miss it? I wasn't quick enough. Is it up? Yeah, there's the picture there. You got Barkley, you've got Brock Purdy, you've got, all these players. And then if you look at the very front, it's Sam Darnold and Drake May, who just so happen to be facing each other. What are the odds? Well, they don't count. I'm only talking about I'm only talking about playoff teams here, George. Those guys didn't seem to make the dance. But what are the odds, though, that the front two are Drake May and Sam Darnold? It's just weird. I don't think that the NFL's rigged. I just think it is funny that you can pretty much find a conspiracy to anything if you really want to. But I do think this matchup stinks. I'm not excited for this game at all. I think if you really look at the Patriots' schedule this season, they've had it easy as hell. Somebody posted something the other day that showed that out of their 17 games, obviously they played the Jets twice, and then in 12 of their 17 games, all the teams they played fired their coach at the end of the season. Obviously, they play the Dolphins twice a year. The Dolphins fired their head coach. They play the Bills twice a year. Bills fired their coach. And then the Jets stink, so facing the Jets twice a year is nothing. And then they played a bunch of backups, a bunch of shitty backup quarterbacks or coaches that got fired from lame duck teams. So just a very strange season for the Patriots. And then even in the playoffs, look at their path to the Super Bowl there. They beat the Chargers, which Justin Herbert was terrible in that game. I don't know what his deal is in the playoffs, but he's a choke artist. Then they faced CJ Stroud, who was ass in the playoffs. He was literally looked like he'd never played the position of quarterback before. And then they face Jared Stidham because Bo Nix breaks his ankle. So what an easy path to the Super Bowl. The Seahawks, on the other hand, had a little harder. They had a bye week. Then they faced a very banged-up San Francisco 49ers and beat them easily. But then they faced the Rams, who the Rams were coming in hot. The Rams played really well. That was a close game. Again, I truly think that muffed punt that led immediately to a touchdown for the Seahawks was the game-changing play. If he did not muff that punt, there's a good chance the Rams win that game, and it's the Rams and Patriots in the Super Bowl. But, you can't go back in time. It is what it is. He muffed it. But with that being said, I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks. We'll do quick picks here just because it's the Super Bowl. I don't really have anything to break down. I just think Seattle's been the better team all season. Sam Darnold has not turned into a pumpkin yet, as everybody's been expecting. And I just think their defense is good enough to where Sam Darnold doesn't need to do much. They're going to run the ball. They're going to keep the ball. You can let Sam Darnold throw, don't get me wrong, but I think New England's defense is much better than the Rams. But you don't want to let Sam Darnold make mistakes. You don't want to let Sam Darnold lose you the game. So I think if they're smart with that, with which Clint Kubiak is a smart offensive coordinator. And then Mike McDonald runs the defense. I think the Seattle defense is really good, and I think they should really have no problem beating the Patriots. So I am going with the Seattle Seahawks to be the Super Bowl champions. in a game that I'm going to hate, but it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. So that's my pick. George, I don't know if you have a pick for them. Okay. I feel like that's going to be the general consensus. We'll get Kyle's pick as well once he's feeling better, but of course we have 2 weeks. While speaking on that, quick edit or behind the scenes note, programming note here. We are going to take next week off. We were going to do the tabbies, but George is going to be busy. They rescheduled a basketball game, and I don't want to do the tabbies without George. A, George runs the show. He's the best with the slides. And B, I want George to be able to get his tabby picks in there, so I don't want to do it without him. So what we're going to do is we're going to take next week off. That's why we're talking Super Bowl now. And then after the Super Bowl, we'll recap the Super Bowl. We'll talk about, whatever's going on in sports. And then we are going to have the tabbies throughout the show. And you guys remember how we've always done it. We talk a little sports, then we break into a tabbies. Tabbies can be anything you want. There are no set categories. It is your personal favorites for the year. Your favorite movie, your favorite book, your favorite TV show, your favorite food, your favorite, whatever. Favorite sports moment. You could do anything you want from the 2020 year of 2025. Make it your own. And that's the fun part about the tabbies is you can create your own category. You can make your own nominations, and you can make your own winner. So, or nominations, same thing. So that's the tabbies, and we will be doing that in 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. So just a heads up, programming notes. With that.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't know if you could hear it because I didn't know I wasn't on screen there. But yeah, I chose Seattle, and I said by 7.5 last night. So
I could see that 100%. I mean, truthfully, New England's defense is good, but it's not great. And New England's offense is good, but not great. And Drake May has been a turnover machine in these playoffs and has not been very good passing-wise because he's been facing some pretty good defenses. Even against Denver last week, he didn't have, I think he threw for 78 yards or something like that. It was the lowest passing yards, lowest passing yards for a quarterback to ever win a championship, a conference championship game in NFL history. So Drake May hasn't had to do anything because they faced Jarrett Stidham. Had Sean Payton not gone for it on fourth down like a dummy when you have your backup quarterback, that would have changed things. But bad coaching decisions, that's, come back to bite you in the ass. So, yeah, I think Seattle's going to be one of the best teams New England's seen all season, and they're catching them at a time where Seattle is white hot. So they're clicking on all cylinders. The offense is playing great. Jackson Smith and Jigba is unguardable. Cooper Kupp has found the fountain of youth. I just think I'm with you, George, that give me Seattle. I think Seattle's just the better team, so they're going to get that W.
Yeah, what impressed me on that game was that Sam Darnold spread that ball around to everybody. I mean, I was very surprised on how many guys were catching touchdowns. I was like,
the Rams had some injury in the secondary, and the Seahawks exploited it. I mean, there was a play where there was an injury in the very first play. They're throwing it towards the guy that's injured, or the backup that came in, and they're scoring touchdowns. For whatever reason, the Rams ran a lot of zone defense, and it clearly wasn't working, and they wouldn't change their ways. They kept sticking with the zone, and they kept getting burned. So you'd think at that point you might want to try a little bit of man or maybe double cover Jackson Smith and Jigba. They chose not to, and their season's over because of that. So, you live and learn. Really quick note, Ohio State. This has kind of flown under the radar. Ohio State signed Arthur Smith to be their offensive coordinator. Longtime Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator. Of course, the heir to the FedEx fortune. His father created FedEx, became a billionaire, and Arthur Smith has all that cash from his dad because his dad passed away, if I'm not mistaken. So Arthur Smith does this for the love of the game. He is a billionaire, but he is still in love with coaching, and he is not a good offensive coordinator, so this was a very bizarre hire for Ohio State. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Arthur Smith is not known for being a risk taker, for not being an explosive offense kind of guy. He's a very old school kind of ground and pound. Like, that's why Pittsburgh hated him. But also he was working with half a deck, I'll say, when he was with Pittsburgh. When he was in Pittsburgh, he didn't have good quarterbacks. This was after the Ben Roethlisberger era. The running backs weren't good. So he wasn't working with the best players, but at the same time, still not great results for old Arthur Smith. So an interesting hire by Ohio State. I find it questionable. I know I talked about it last week. I said I would have loved to talk to Kyle about it, but is the coaching up to par for Ohio State? You have this college that is known for, being one of the best programs in the country, obviously, and consistently being one of the best programs in the country. It's not like Indiana. They won the national championship last week, but first in school history. They're not a powerhouse. Ohio State's a powerhouse. Ohio State's every year is essentially championship or bust. If they don't win a championship, it's, do we need to think about firing this guy? That's not good enough. Ryan Day is somehow surviving. Ryan Day did get his championship last year, but Ryan Day struggled to beat Michigan up until this year. And then after that Michigan win, he went 0-2. And the Ohio State Buckeye season is over because of that. He struggles in big games. He lost to Indiana in the Big Ten championship, which is understandable. Indiana's a very good team. They were, undefeated. They won the championship after all. And then losing to Miami, who did go to the championship, but they lost. But Ohio State's a better team than Miami. Ohio State should have won that game. But Brian Hartline is, of course, departing, so the offense was called by Ryan Day. And the whole team struggled. So they bring in Arthur Smith, who's not a good coordinator, to help a struggling offense. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't understand. Again, you've got a guy like Kurt Cignetti who went to Indiana and turned that culture and that program around overnight. He was there for 2 years, got a championship in year 2, didn't fuck around. Ryan Day, what's Ryan Day do to make Ohio State better? He's good at recruiting. But at Ohio State, it's not hard to get good players. Ohio State's known for killing it in their recruiting class. So what's Ryan Day doing with these players to take this team to the next level? Nick Saban used to win multiple championships with Alabama. What's Ryan Day do? Ryan Day loses in big games and he has one championship to his name. Why is he the cream of the crop for Ohio State? They can't do better? That's my question. You mean to tell me Ohio State can't find a better coach? I don't know. Something fishy going on there. It doesn't make any sense to me. Nothing against Ryan Day. I'm not a fire the coach kind of guy. I just do think Ohio State could do better for their head coach, for being one of the most prestigious collegiate programs in the country and in college football history. Ryan Day is the best you can do? Come on. I don't know. We'll see. All right. With that said, quickly, as I talked to everybody, I said I'm watching the Cavs game. They are beating the Lakers currently. It just went to halftime. Cavs are actually playing pretty well. They're moving up in standings. I mentioned it last week. The Cavs were like the 7th seed last week, and I said if they go on a good week and other teams have a little bit of a bad week, the Cavs will be a top 5 team in the standings. And overnight, it was like only a 2-game difference. Sure enough, Cavs are currently the 5th seed, and continuing to play well. The only problem, they are now going to be without Evan Mobley for 1 to 3 weeks. Add him to the list. However, they did get Sam Merrill back tonight, which is a big help. But Evan Mobley is a defensive player of the year. Evan Mobley is a shot blocker. He's a rim protector. He's a rebounder. He's a force in the paint. Not having him is huge. That's a big loss. He's out with a hamstring strain, which is scary because that makes me worried that he might come back. That hamstring will not be, a calf strain. That calf will not be healthy, and that calf strain will turn into an Achilles pop because that tends to be what happens with players. A lot of players have calf injuries, and they kind of overcompensate for that injury, and they start kind of pressing in a different way than they're normally doing, and that's what causes their Achilles to pop. So I'm worried that I hope Evan Mobley gets 1,000% healthy before he comes back to not risk an Achilles tear. But that is something that, if that happens, I'm going to be devastated for him and for the Cavs. But it's also something to have in the back of your mind when and if he returns. They're going to reevaluate him in 1 to 3 weeks. So we'll see. But Cavs are winning. Cavs are playing well. Donovan Mitchell's carrying them on his back. And as I said, they're currently beating the Lakers, but it's only halftime. A lot can change. LeBron only has 6 points. He's struggling a little bit here in Cleveland. I know he's got some hometown jitters, possibly. But we'll see what happens. The trade deadline is coming up on the 5th, so it'll be next week. And breaking news, kind of, today. We didn't even talk about it for the show here, but Giannis Antetokounmpo officially requested a trade. He wants out of Milwaukee, so that's something to keep an eye on there. And again, the trade deadline is, I think, the 5th of February. So Giannis wants out. A realistic trade would be Evan Mobley, and some extra stuff for Giannis would make sense financially for the Cavs. Will it happen? I don't think so, but that is an actual possibility when we're being realistic about a trade. I also don't know what type of value they're going to get for him because trades in the NBA make no fucking sense to me. You have Luka Doncic, who gets traded for Anthony Davis and a bag of peanuts, essentially, from the Dallas Mavericks to the Lakers last season. And Luka Doncic is easily an MVP candidate player who's probably not even in his prime yet. Anthony Davis is used goods that can't stay healthy. And then you have a guy like Miles Bridges from the Miles is the Mikal Bridges is on the Hornets. I think Miles Bridges is on the Knicks. Miles Bridges got traded from the Nets to the Knicks last offseason, and he went for like 4 first-round picks or something like that from the Knicks. They spent a ton to get Miles Bridges. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic cost the Lakers next to nothing. So trades in the NBA make no fucking sense to me. Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane went from Memphis to Orlando for a shitload of picks. Desmond Bane's a good player. Is he a franchise-altering player? Fuck no. Is he worth more than Luka Doncic? Fuck no. But he cost more than Luka Doncic. Makes no sense. So it makes me wonder if a trade for Giannis is actually going to be a lot cheaper than what you would think. Because Giannis Antetokounmpo is a great player. He's one of the best players in the NBA. You would think a trade for him is going to cost you everything. But probably not. Look at Donovan Mitchell even. Donovan Mitchell cost the Cavaliers Lauri Markkanen. He cost them Colin Sexton. We gave them Ochai Ajabe and like 3 first-round picks to get Donovan Mitchell. I love Donovan Mitchell, don't get me wrong, but Luka Doncic is worth more than Donovan Mitchell, and we had to pay more for Donovan Mitchell to come to Cleveland. It's weird. The NBA is a fucking weird sport, so keep an eye on that. Giannis Antetokounmpo likely to be traded within the next week-ish. I don't know when the 5th is. The 5th is next Thursday. So there's a good chance that he'll be on a new team when we record in 2 weeks. So that's something to keep an eye on. And also look,
he's on the watch right now. That's one of his.
Yeah,
boards, so
I've seen he's been linked to the Knicks, and it would be possibly for Karl Anthony Towns. I've seen the Knicks are trying to unload Karl Anthony Towns, and they want Giannis Antetokounmpo. So that's something to keep an eye on. But we'll see. Time will tell. That is, I think, everything. Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier, the Tabbies 2026 coming to you live February 11th. I will be so relieved on the 11th. I'm going to be a different person because I have my yearly audit for our ISO 9001 certification on the 10th. I get very stressed for it every year. I hate it. It keeps me up at night, even though we pass every year and it always goes smoothly. I don't know why, but it stresses me out. So I have my audit on the 10th. It's an all-day thing. The lady comes. She looks over all of our documents and everything that I've done and that we do at my work. And, we pass or we fail. Even if you fail, it's not the end of the world. But in my head, I have high standards, so I want to do well. I don't want to fail. If you fail, all they do is tell you what you did wrong and what you need to fix. You fix it, you tell them, and they go, okay, you're good, you passed. So I don't expect us to fail, but at the same time, I still get really stressed. So will this be my 3rd audit, I think? I started this position in 2022, so I ran our audit in 2023, 2024, 2025. This will be my 4th audit that I will run for the company. And I'm 3 for 3 so far with very good feedback. So hopefully that continues, but it still stresses me the fuck out. I hate it. I dread it. It's all I think about for like the next month. Luckily, it's a week before Teddy's birthday. Teddy's birthday is the 17th, and then the Tabbies are the 11th. So I will be on this show with a clear mind on February 11th, feeling like a new person, hopefully. Knock on wood. Pray for me. So with that said, again, 2 weeks we're doing the Tabbies. But it is now time for everybody's favorite segment, and that is Just the Tip. And George has been so excited all day to tell me what his tip is, and he wants to whip it out and show you guys. So without further ado, George, the floor is yours.
I honestly, I cannot take credit for this one. I give kudos to Kelly. She was actually watching an interview on the Kelly Clarkson show of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
And all right, so you're going with the John Daly special. Grip it and rip it, baby.
The rip, yeah. This was amazing. I love twists and turns in any of my movies, and this was almost like The Departed, because just once you thought you had something pinpointed, they went whoops and flipped it, and then they flipped it again, and you're going, what the, oh man. The premise, though, is the rip, is they nicknamed it, is when the police will go and hit raid a house that is a money laundering house.
Okay.
And that's what they call the rip, is how big the rip is. And so that's what this premise is behind. And it was very well done. When these two get together, I mean, I enjoy their work. I really do.
Oh no, Jared Allen just went down pretty fucking hard. Sorry to interrupt, George.
That's not good.
They threw him an alley-oop, and he couldn't do anything with it, so he tried to tap the ball, and he fell into the... Oh, he's up, he's walking. It looked like he hit his leg pretty hard on the fucking... the padded stuff behind the hoop, but I think he's okay. But damn, that scared me in real time.
Some ice from under the floor, and
he's limping and grimacing, but he's walking back down the floor. But yeah, that had me worried for a while. Okay, he's bent down, he's tying his shoe. I think he's good. All right, but that scared me in real time. Sorry to interrupt.
No. So like I said, it was really cool. Watching the interview with them, with Kel, I think it was last week. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to have to turn around and watch that. I said, that looked really good. And then sure enough, as I was really getting into it, I was like, man, I said, this is amazing stuff. Really, really well written, really well done. I mean, like I said, I like these two when they collaborate on some stuff. And this one definitely did not disappoint at all.
Yeah, this one's been on my list since it came out. I'm excited to see it. I just haven't had the time. It's a 2-hour movie. We've been really busy. I think I talked about it.
It goes.
Yeah, it might go quick, but
no walls in this, baby.
I still do need the actual 2 hours of freedom to watch it. That's the only problem, no matter how quick it goes. Only because, like, I think I talked about it last week. We pushed Teddy's bedtime back, so we've been putting her to bed a little later than normal. So now my free time is cut down even more. So used to be we'd put her to bed at like 7:30. By the time she actually goes to bed, you're out of the room by like 8 o'clock, give or take. You know, come down, clean up, get the house going, you know, shower, eat, whatever you got to do, and then sit down. We watch a movie. It's, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Plenty of time to watch a movie on a weeknight. Now, because we pushed her bedtime back, we're not out of that room till 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, and it's significantly more difficult to watch stuff. So we've actually been watching a lot of TV shows lately because, we only have an hour or so to kill. So we haven't been able to watch many movies. And I think The Rip is close to 2 hours, if not over 2 hours. So have not had a chance to watch it yet, but it is on my list for sure. I'm hoping this weekend to get that one knocked out. But speaking of, I think so too. I can't wait. I've heard good things. But speaking of quick TV shows, one thing I discovered on HBO Max is a show called It's Florida, Man. And obviously it's a pun. It's a play on words with the news articles that start off with Florida Man. I'm sure you guys have heard those stories before. Pretty much if you see an article that says a Florida Man, it's going to be a riot. There's going to be something crazy. It seems like the craziest of the crazy people in America flock to Florida. And this show is proof of that. So there's 2 seasons of it. Each episode's give or take a half an hour long. And what it is it's a true story. Well, it's a version of a story told by the person that it happened to. I won't spoil anything, but for instance, the first episode is a guy who clearly has some mental inefficiencies. He is, no question about it, a little cuckoo, to say the least. I think he was like an ex-druggie, wanted to turn his life around, so he claims. Ended up one night just jumping a fence. He didn't specify that he was all fucked up, but he had to have been fucked up to do this. He starts walking into a swamp in Florida, hops a fence where they tell you do not go in here because there's gators and fucking, whatever else in the swamp. So he jumps a fence and just keeps walking deep into the woods to the point he has no phone, he has no water, no food, nothing, just goes and walks because he's tripping on something. He then gets to the water and something in his body just says, in his head just goes, you know what? that water looks refreshing. It's the middle of the night. He's been walking all day in the hot, blistering Florida heat in the swamp. So he jumps into the water and he's floating and he feels like a new man. And then an alligator comes by and bites his arm off. So he climbs out of the swamp without an arm, finds somebody as I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was butt naked, missing an arm, bleeding, somehow survived. He was drinking like murky water just to keep himself alive for the time that he had to walk through the woods. Some dude found him. They took him to the hospital. They were able to get him help, but he did lose his arm. Obviously, he got it eaten off by an alligator. But the way the show works is the story is told by the person that the story happened to, and then they have actors that they hire to do the reenactments of it. So, for instance, I'm trying to think up. They get some big name people. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. He might not be a household name, but there's an actor named Simon Rex who he was in the Scary Movie franchise. He was in a few of them. He was in the show. He was in a TV show. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. He was in the movie called Red Rocket that came out a few years ago that got some Oscar buzz. But you might recognize him if you see him. He's not a household name, but he's a good actor. He's a funny guy. He plays the reenactment guy in the first one. Damn it, I can't remember. I got to look it up because there are some really good names, and it's irritating me that I can't remember them now because there were some fucking good ones. So bear with me for 1 second. But while I'm looking this up, there's another show that I want to give a little shout out to. It's not my official tip, but I'm intrigued by it, and it's called Suddenly Amish on TLC. It's a new show where these people decided they want to go try to be Amish, and they go into an Amish community and they have to live like Amish people. And it's not bullshit of like, oh, you're going to learn our culture. These people take it serious and they say, okay, you're here. No electronic devices. You're not allowed to wear these clothes. You have to act like us. You have to dress like us. Like they are very fucking strict. So yeah, let me get here. So the first episode had Simon Rex and it had, I'll have to go in episode order. Let's see. So the very first episode right off the rip has Simon Rex. Second episode, I think this one had some big names in it. Yeah, the second episode had Anna Faris. It had, if you're familiar with the show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It had the waitress in it. This guy wanted to blow up his boyfriend's house. It had John Grease, who is, of course, Uncle Rico, or what was his name? Greg, I think was his name, from The White Lotus. Season 2 has, one of the episodes has Nick Swardson, who's one of my favorite comedians. It has Adam Devine from the show Workaholics. He's in it. One of them, Bert Kreischer's in one of them. So they get some big name people, just to, obviously, you could tell just from that list right there. So check out Florida Man. I'm probably not doing it justice with my explanation of it, but I highly recommend it. It's funny. Again, the stories are quote unquote true, but they are fucking wild. The people down there in Florida. You have some people that get arrested for crazy shit, that OD on drugs. One dude thinks he sees the, what's it called? The gorilla skunk or something like that. Instead of Sasquatch, they think there's a giant like gorilla skunk running around in the Everglades. He takes a bunch of mushrooms and legitimately thinks that he finds it and it attacks him. And there's just some fun. They're wild down there in Florida. So these people tell these stories. It all gets reenacted by actors. It's just really funny and an interesting show. And again, it goes quick. There's like 8 episodes in a season. Each episode's only like 25 minutes. So highly recommend It's Florida Man. But also as a side note, I haven't watched episode 3 of Suddenly Amish yet, but I'm going to watch it. And I already told Tara that if episode 3 doesn't really blow me away, I might be done with the show, but it might be worth checking out for other people if you guys are into that kind of stuff. It's an interesting premise. I just don't love the show so far, but maybe it'll change. I'll probably watch that tonight after the Cavs game. But that's going to do it. That's all I have. I wanted this episode to be relatively quick because, again, I hear my wife downstairs doing some work, and I want to go help her take care of that. And I got to take the garbage out. They postponed my garbage day because of the snowstorm, so I've got a lot of shit to do tonight, and it is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. George, thank you for hopping on here with me. Appreciate you, as always. And we will talk to you guys again in 2 weeks after the Super Bowl and after the Pro Bowl. If there's a betting app out there that allows it, I would highly recommend taking the over on interceptions thrown by Shedeur Sanders in the Pro Bowl, just because that's kind of what he's known for. So do that if you can. And ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you in 2 weeks. I appreciate you all. Cleveland, that was for you. See you later.